Blast me to Electia! It's time for the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. Issue 45, Part 1. Lore, Build and Paint Guide. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. So we have issue 45 in hand, and we get our first of 3 Canoptek Wraiths. So here's our model. Here's our magazine. So on the inside of the magazine we learn about some of the various orders of the Sisters of Battle, including the Valorious Heart. We have a fold out about the different Xenos races, and we build and paint our Canoptek Wraith. So there he is, looking rather menacing, but that's even more menacing. But let's go ahead, go vertical, and we'll take a closer look at the frame and the magazine. So here's our model. We have a 50mm round base for him to be mounted on, which is a lot better than the old 40mm that it used to be on, because that was a little on the small side, especially for the ones that are closer to the ground and have a wider footprint with their tails. But we got a good looking kit here. I've never actually really liked these guys myself. I was playing Necrons back when we still had the old 3rd edition codex, and the Wraiths then were the tail, but the top half was basically a Necron warrior with giant clawed hands, much like a flayed one. And really these guys took that image away from me. They went more towards the creepy insect type of creature than the horrific horror type of the classic destroyers. And as such, I really fell out of love with these, but when they brought out the Ophidian destroyers, that really brought back memories. But we do still have a rather nice kit here. It does hold up well for its age. It's now, I think, 2011, yeah, so that's 11 years old now. At least the frame's 2011. Yeah, these came out 2011. I think some of the other ones from the Necron release came out 2014, a few years later. But this kit is still a rather nice kit. We do have the main carapace and sections of the thorax here. We've got the whip tail, the 2 different guns, so the particle caster, which is high shots, high strength, but low armor penetration, and then we got the transdimensional beamer, which has a lower strength but a higher armor punching and a higher damage rate. Luckily, the way you can build this kit, they can easily be plugged in and out of the main gun housing here, so you can easily swap between the two if you so desire. I've looked at the instructions already, and really they are a pretty good set of instructions. A couple of things are wrong on them, I will cover that in a minute though, but really it helps you build the models just as you want them. There are of course the optional weapons of the whip coils. Personally, they are rather fragile and are prone to snapping. I would just use the standard claws and say perhaps that the whip coils are retracted and they look to be as one whole piece. It's either that, or you're going to have to cut off here and here, glue this to that, which would then be causing another fragile piece. But you could then still say the whip coils are retracted. But yes, a rather nice looking kit. We do have quite a few head options, so I believe we have 4 head options for every model, so that means we can have a good choice of uniqueness between the units. So those of you who are picking up multiples of this unit, you do have a good variety for making unique looking models. Another thing that the instructions are quite good at saying is that we can cut off these little pegs on the end of the claws so we can pose the arms a little more freely. That's quite cool. And we've also got space in here for us to be able to maneuver the arm sections, so we have the claws raised back or down in a defensive sort of style. And then we got a little bowl and socket, bowl and dome socket for the neck there, so the head will go on this curved end, and then we can just pose the head around as well. So a rather nice looking kit, some nice detail, and some good options for posability as well. Moving on then, we've got a magazine to look through, so zoom out a sec. So here we go with issue 45. There's not a lot in here, I don't think, that we need to cover. Oh, actually there is quite a bit. So we got a battle record for our Canoptek Wraiths. We have a battle record background information for the weapons and war gear of our battle sisters. So we have background information for the Order of the Valorious Heart, and there's also another one on the other side, which was the Order of the Argent Shroud. We have background information for the Astra Militarum, and then we got our fold out, the Alien Tides. Building and painting our Canoptek Wraith, full datasheet for our Canoptek Wraiths, and then we got Canoptek Infestation, so we're seeing a lot of Canoptek creatures in our battle. So first off, our battle record, Canoptek Wraith, Swift Deadly Hunters. Capable of phasing through solid material, Canoptek Wraiths appear from nowhere and tear their victims apart with their razor-edged claws. So we've got Vicious Claws, the Particle Caster, the Transdimensional Beamer. They can phase in and out in their Wraith form, and they also have the Whip Coils as an optional extra combat weapon. So luckily I've been able to fill out my data record this time around, and we have a unit designation of the Clawed Spectres, so we only have a small D3 chart. So they have tremor sensors, so they have the ability to detect closing in troops. They like to target enemy infantry, and when they are activated for stasis crypt defenses, they will protect an ability beyond any other threat. And we got the tick chart here for using the slinking strike rule, so every time you fall back and charge you can tick off. Then we got information on our battle record, so if you do anything really dramatic with your units you can record it down here. So next up we got a battle record background page for the Adeptus weapons and war gear. So we got a good choice here of names for our weapons and stuff. For war gear, not weapons. Weapons are here, so we've got our melee weapons and we got our ranged weapons. And if you just hold on a sec, I'll be right back. And I'm back, and I've brought with me my Canonist battle record, because now we've got all these tables I've been able to fully fill out her background, and here we have her. So her name is Maria Decia. She is the Blessed Blade. Her sword is called the Thorn of the Blessed. Her pistol is Blessed Vengeance, and her rod of office is the Scepter of the Blessed. I kid you not, these were all natural D66, D33 rolls. Every time I rolled for a name of something, I ended up getting the Blessed as part of it, so it's actually worked out pretty well for her. So we got her ability there to activate, keep track of her rod of office activations, but we haven't got any assisted battle units yet to effect with that. Not until the next issue 46, we'll get the Adeptus reinforcements. But there we go, that is my Canonist's battle record all filled out and up to date. Moving on to our background then, so we have Order of the Valorious Heart. So this is much like our Forge Worlds. These are going to be detailing the different orders of the Adeptus Sororitas. So Valorious Heart are the Blessed Scourge. Shielded by their unshakable faith, the Order of the Valorious Heart perseveres even, through grueling hardships to bring death to the Emperor's enemies. No amount of suffering is too great for them to bear, and all that they endure is paid double to their foes. So this goes around into showing a little bit of background about the Order. They will often proudly show their battle scars if they receive any. These are to a reminder of the suffering of Saint Lucia, who was Alicia's one of Alicia's 5 followers. They boast quite a few Hospitalis who are doubly used not only to restore and heal their sisters, they are often used to restore and torture their enemies. So they will often practice life extension and pain enhancements in order to be used on any traitors that they manage to capture. So here we have the Valorious Heart, and on the other side we've got the Argent Shroud. I must admit, probably my second favourite next to the Orders of Our Martyr Lady. When they released the White Dwarf Codex back in 7th edition, 6th, 7th edition I think it was, Duncan Rhodes did an amazing Argent Shroud army, and it almost inspired me again to possibly start collecting. But I went for Order of Our Martyr Lady, as at the time I was collecting a combined force and I was using a restricted palette, colour palette to do a combined Imperial force. So I had Black Templars for my Space Marines, Adeptus Sororitas were Order of Martyr Lady, and I had just Cadians, but I painted them in, I think it was red carapace and sort of like a terracotta kind of fatigues, whereas throughout the other armies I used the red as an accent colour and the brown for leathers and stuff. So, but here we have a bit of background about the Argent Shroud, the Silver Spearhead. Like a quick silver bolt, the Sisters of the Argent Shroud strike at the Emperor's enemies. They are renowned for their speed in combat, and are often first into the fray, where their faith in their protector, Saint, shines brightly. So these sisters have basically mastered Silver Strike, so much like the White Scars in the previous issue. Their matriarch was Sylvana, again one of Alicia Dominica's right-hand sisters. And the only other thing about them is they tend to be a little on the quiet side. They don't really interact much with allies, and as such they will formulate their own battle plans and rarely communicate with their allies to tell them what's happening. So, but they are pretty good. They have a lot of Seraphim units and Zephyrim, who are the elite Seraphim. And they do, like I said, have a lot of quick striking units and deep strikers sort of things. And here we have Thaddeus the Purifier again, with a bit of information about the Argent Shroud there. So next up we have the background information for the Astra Militarum. So it's kind of like a report, but it's just a standard bit of background information. All records are to be deemed as potentially inaccurate due to the constant attrition, the loss of entire regiments in combat, and the lack of contact with forces beyond the Imperium Nihilus. So this is just telling a bit of background about the Imperial Guard. So To be a man in such times is to be one upon untold billions, as the phrase used to go. But basically, there is a never-ending requirement to fill the ranks of the the Astra Militarum. They're basically the standard human troops, basic armor, basic guns, all highly mass-produced and easy to maintain. Large tanks, walkers, aircraft, and are often backed up by knights and space marines. Some of the most notable regiments here. So I needed a drink just then. So yeah, some of the notable guard regiments here. So we got the Armageddon Steel Legion, Cadians, the Mordian Iron Guard, who are probably my 5th favourite regiment. We got the Vostorian Firstborn, who are my absolute first favourite regiment of Imperial Guard. I just love the whole red and brass with the very antique wood-looking guns, much like the Adeptus Mechanicus. So we got the Misaman 114th, the Death Corps Krieg, of course. They've recently become the centre of the guards with a brand new plastic kit for Kill Team. And I think I've done a really nice colour scheme for those, my Kill Team force, painting them with a white overcoat. And then we got the Catachans. They're the Mark IV Unseen Lurkers Catachans regiment, so they have a rather urban camo feel as opposed to the more common jungle fatigues. So it goes on to detail the regiments and the recruitments, the Astra Militarum, and then we have a propaganda poster as well. And a little bit of information about a guardsman who didn't make it back. Private Callis, the Cadian 15th, who was killed in action. Poor guy. Excuse me. So before we look at the build guide, let's have a look at our last piece of background lore. So this is all about the different aliens, alien forces the Imperium face throughout the galaxy. So many are the Xenos races that inhabit the galaxy, and all are despised by the Imperium. Some have plagued the territories of mankind since the first colonies beyond Terra were founded. Others have only recently been encountered. All are a dire threat to the Imperium. So first and foremost, amongst the alien threats are the orcs, of course. Big green brutes with a love for fighting. We have the Eldari, ancient beyond all other races, who are split into the two factions, of course, the Drukhari, or the Dark Eldar, and the Eldari, who are the Eldar Craft Worlds. And then on the inside, we have the Tau, who are, of course, the youngest of the Xenos races, with their highly advanced technology and their creed of greater good. And the Tyranids, who are again a fairly newish threat to the Imperium, but have become one of the largest threats of recent times. They've come up from out of the void, beyond the known galaxy, and are slowly eating their way through the galaxy. Excuse me again. So here we have a galactic map for the different expansions of the Tau Empire, so the different septs. So blue areas are our first sept, green's the second, third is yellow, and the fifth is the red. So what happened to the fourth, I do not know. They got all the different areas, worlds, stations, etc. known to be under Tau control. And most recently, the Warzone Caradon, which after the Imperial Nihilists blacked out the galaxy, the Tau have been recruiting Imperial worlds to their cause, much to the ire of the Raven Guard and the Adeptus Sororitas. So that's that. So our build guide, we've got a rather in-depth build guide for this model. and it is well worth reading through a couple of times before you go to building a model. So it just has your usual warnings. Take care when clipping components out. Don't glue certain components, as it makes it for a much more posable model. Pay special attention to attaching the nodes. They do have to go in a certain order. So we build the carapace and the thorax of the Canoptek Wraith here. And the main top of the torso there. And we got a side view to show how it should go, so it should angle at a slight curve. We got our particle caster there. We also have the beamer, which, as I mentioned earlier, the build guide that says transdimensional beamer actually just repeats the previous particle caster instructions. It doesn't show that you need to swap parts 17 for part... no. So part 16 is what we do use for the particle caster, but it doesn't. It says they use 17, but it shows a picture for part 16, so it's rather confusing if you're just using the pictures. But that's how we attach the gun, just to the other side of the body. Then we glue our nodes, so from back to front we got 9, 10, 11. A friend of mine actually pointed out it's a good idea to glue the body down to the tail first, and then glue the tail to the base, and then glue your nodes in afterwards. So I'm going to definitely try that. Oops, sorry, mini Merlin. And then over here we got attaching all the claws. Again, they go in specific places, but we do have the ability to pose them as we see fit if we clip off that little tab. Got our head there, and a view from the top to show where it looks like all built up. And finally we do the main claws, which go on at the front here. And of course you've got the options of faces and the whip coils if you so choose. I'll cover the whip coils in the next video, where we got the datasheet to cover. But that's it. We'll have a few extra components, which of course will be the heads, the whip coils, and any extra guns that you choose to keep, not use. That's that. So we will cover the paint guide, because I will be painting mine up in the Saltek dynasty. But if you are painting yours in the Zarak dynasty, you will want to paint it Abaddon black all over, for first of all the 3 coats. Then you're picking out the armour plates with your Runelord brass, certain sections and blades with lead belcher. Picking out all the nodes and energy areas with Corax white. Canoptek alloy on some of the uppermost arm panels. All over armour shade gloss on the Runelord brass sections. Picking out non-oil in the very deep recesses. And again, non-oil around the silver details on the blades, etc. White and flesh shade on the areas we painted Canoptek alloy. Then we're edge highlighting with Stormhost silver on the armor panels and the claws and weapons. Finally basing, we're putting astrogranite and non-oil once that's dried. And we should have a fairly easy job applying astrogranite all over the base, even if we glue the model down, as he's got very minimal contact areas, so we've got a nice open area to access. And that is your completed Wraith there. So there we have issue 45. So rather nice issue, I think. Like I said, never been a fan of the Wraiths, but getting them in this collection, I'm slowly growing some affection towards them. So all that's left for me to do then is to say thank you all for watching. If you don't already, I'd really appreciate it if you liked, comment, shared and subscribed. It helps the channel out greatly. If you also want to keep up with my hobby, diary, etc., there are of course my social media pages, my Buy Me a Coffee page, and my affiliate links are in the description below. So that's that, and I will see you next time for more mad content. Goodbye.